Hi guys, I'm back for another Nerd Rants video. We're doing another childhood favorites, part 5, I think. Anyway, I know in the last childhood favorites video I said I was gonna do one for Phineas and Ferb, but I'm not. I'm sorry, I lied. I recently rewatched another show that I watched as a kid. And since it's so fresh in my mind, I figured I should do a review of it first before I do Phineas and Ferb. So we're going to be talking about Ben 10. It's such... Whoever came up with this show, just the whole concept of it, beautiful. I love it. It's... the world and the plot line are great. It's so great. So, quick overarching plot for those who have no idea what the heck Ben 10 is. So, 10-year-old kid finds an alien, they call it a watch, it's not exactly a watch, but finds alien technology that attaches itself to his wrist and like fuses with his DNA, so you can't so he literally is incapable of taking it off. Or it's extremely difficult. Anyway, but this technology allows him to change into different aliens. Oh, it's so great. Just the designs for all the different aliens is so cool because they're all so unique and they fit so well with what each of the aliens can do. So we have like a speedster and they're like he's super aerodynamic and slim and it's great. And then we have one that's super strong and has like 4 arms and is big and burly, and I love it because he starts with 10 aliens, but he gets more as he like learns about the watch, which is called the Omnitrix, and figures out how to unlock more of the DNA inside of it. And it's just the number of aliens they come up with. They each have unique designs, and we get like species names for a bunch of them. So the amount of world building that went into just like the different alien species is great. I love it and I appreciate it, and it's so good. And on top of that, like, the characters are done really well. I mean, Ben, the main character with the watch, the main kid with the watch, he can be super annoying sometimes, but that's the point. Yes, some of the characters are annoying, but that's because they are supposed to be annoying. So for what they want the characters to be, they do it super well. And Vilgax is awesome. Just design, and he's genuinely like a creepy villain, and they have good lead up into him. If you watch my last Nerd Rants video about Young Justice season 3, you understand why I love the lead up to Vilgax so much. And like, they make him, like, for all the lead up and the hype and whatever else, he actually is like that big of a threat. He's as big of a threat as they make you think he is, and it's so great. And that's just season 1, guys. Okay, season 2. Season 2 brings in the Plumbers, which is sort of, is a government organization that is set up to handle the policing of and all the weird stuff that happens with aliens. So they are just the space police. It's so good. Because they have obviously all the gadgets and the cool vehicles, and they have the cool suits that and space suits and stuff that, because they're the space police, and they fight off the aliens, and they keep it all secret so that the general populace doesn't, find out about it. It's just I love the plumbers. I love the plumbers. And then, obviously, because plot and all that, Ben's grandpa is a plumber, and he's spending the summer with his grandpa and his cousin, and just... Oh, and in season 1, just the subtle hints that their grandpa knows more about aliens than he should, so then that eventually leads to him having to tell them that he's a plumber, and just... Why were kids' shows back then so great at storytelling and character development? I mean, all of these shows that I have done, like childhood favorites for, have just amazing plot lines and amazing characters and incredible worlds. And I love it so much. And, kids' shows nowadays are like so stupid. They're just mindless, bad humor. And it just... What happened? When did we get to the point where children's shows lost so much of their quality? Like, the shows I watched when I was little, I still watch. I try to find them so that I can watch them again. And like, what child from this era of children's shows is gonna want to go back and watch something like that? Because the shows that they make now are just stupid. It's like the simplest plot and the simplest characters, and they oversimplify everything because we underestimate how smart kids are. I work with children. Some of them are freaking smart. We don't need to dumb things down for them. Just make a good show that, that's appropriate for children. And like, as long as you don't overcomplicate the story, obviously, because they are still kids in there. There's definitely a line you can cross, but don't oversimplify everything. Like, make the heroes lose once or twice, and then have them wait till like the next episode to figure out how they overcome this cliffhanger we left them on. Have these cool, complex stories and these characters that actually develop like real humans. I have very strong feelings about this. Anyway, back to Ben 10. I apologize for my rant. But yeah, it's so great. And the characters develop, and we get to see more aliens and flashbacks to when their grandpa was actually a plumber and was like in his prime, and it's just I love the show. It's so fun to watch. And so cool at the same time. So it's genuinely enjoyable. And season 2, we have magic come in. And Ben's cousin Gwen can use magic. And just... there's so much fun stuff. I love it. We have, in the 4th season of Ben 10, we get I think 3 or 4 episode arc that is literally just going into them finding the creator of the Omnitrix and like getting lore for the Omnitrix and like figuring out where it came from and some of its functions, it's just, what? I love lore. I say it every time I get into a show that I really like. It comes down to, I love the world, I love the characters, and I love we get freaking lore! Anyway, we have 4 seasons of Ben when he's a 10-year-old. And then there's a sequel series called Ben 10 Alien Force. It time skips 5 years. He is 15 now. And first of all, it starts out with they have figured out how to take off the Omnitrix, and Ben hasn't been wearing it for a while. He is no longer Ben 10. He's just normal. And his grandpa is back basically in the plumbers, involved at least. And his cousin is learning more with magic. And just... in the first episode, we find out his grandpa is missing, and he gives up a normal life and puts the Omnitrix back on to save his grandpa, which just... that in itself, from when he's 10 years old, character development. Just biggest trait and reason why Ben is a hero is because he cares so much for his family and friends. It's just, that is his driving force and his motivation for pretty much everything that he does. And it's beautiful. He's an arrogant little douche sometimes. But he just cares so flippin' much about the people close to him. Sometimes you forget how annoying he is. Oh, man. But, so that. And this brings in the DN aliens, which are basically people who got infected by alien parasite things, and so they get turned into aliens. And it's awesome. And they try to take over the planet, and it's just... because, obviously, every villain in the show is an alien trying to take over the planet. But it's... the teen aliens are so cool. Just design and then they answer to the hybrid, which are the aliens that created the parasites that took over the humans. And so just that, it's the hybrid and how they have this superiority, God complex basically. And so they're taking over humans so they can wipe them out so that they can be, the highest species. The bigotry the hybrids have for every other species in existence is beautiful. Because we have an entire episode where Ben and one of the hybrid are stuck on a planet together trying to escape, and you see the contrast between them, and Ben trying to save this alien despite the fact that he doesn't want Ben to even talk to him. And to the point where this hybrid basically accepts Ben as an equal. And it's just basically my friend. And exiles himself onto this planet that they're trapped on because he sees himself as unclean. It's amazing. This is in a children's show. They're showing this level of bigotry and segregation and just hate and racism. in a children's show. It's amazing. It's amazing. And you eventually get to the hybrid's motivation for wanting to take over the planet and teen aliens and everything, and it's also so good. The hybrid and the teen aliens were so cool, and they were probably the best villains in the entire Ben 10 universe, just because of the complexity and just they were great and they were really cool. And on top of that, in this series, we get entirely new aliens because heaven forbid we give Ben any kind of advantage in this fight. He puts the Omnitrix back on. It evolves basically to his matured DNA. And now he has 10 different aliens and can't access any of the old ones. And it's just because more aliens and more cool designs and just, it's so great. It's just so freaking great. Oh, and on top of that, we get a return of Kevin Levin, who is basically Ben's nemesis in the original series. And he absorbs the energy of different materials and objects. So he can absorb the energy from stone and like get coated in stone armor, basically. It's so cool. But when they're 10, he absorbs energy from the Omnitrix and gets turned into a monster. And so he's attacking Ben like regularly. He keeps returning because he blames Ben for turning him into a monster. And then he comes back as a 16-year-old and has basically figured out how to change himself back into a human and get back to like his normal powers, just absorbing objects and becoming that material or whatever that he touches. And it's just because then he comes back and kind of is then a bit of a morally gray anti-hero, I guess, because he helps them to stop the Dean aliens initially because he has a crush on Gwen. And then because he owes a debt to a plumber that saves his life. And then later we figure out that he really does want to be good because his father, who died when he was really young, was a plumber. And just the character development in him is the best in the show. Like, he gets the most character development in this show. And I love it. And I love him. And he's great. And his power is so cool. And he has it because he's half alien. Because his dad's an alien. But yeah. And he gets this character development. He goes from Ben's nemesis to like his best friend. I love it. I love Kevin's development. It's the best. And he and Gwen as a couple is meh. I don't care too much. It's good because Gwen's part of the reason he gets some of his character development, but also I could care less about their actual relationship, like romantic relationship. It's whatever. It's a thing. It's canon, so I can't change it. But it's not like I don't really ship any of the characters in this show. That's the thing about all my childhood shows. Because I didn't know what shipping is, I don't really ship anyone with anyone in these shows. I just enjoy them. Which I kind of miss. Just being able to watch a show and just enjoy it without having to deal with, do I ship these characters, or not having to care about anything ship-wise would be great. Anyway. Yes. I know, Kevin. character development is amazing. We also find out that Gwen is half alien, so she's just an energy being in human form. So her grandma shows up and is kind of a little bit obsessed and tries to bring Gwen back to her planet to just shed her human form and become a full-on energy alien. And her true form, like her energy alien form, is also so freaking cool. And it just explaining how she has her powers and the entire episode when we find out she's an alien, we're just getting a lore and origin for where her powers come from and why they work. And it's beautiful. I love it because it's more lore. And it's so great. It's so great. Oh, it's beautiful. And then I don't remember if there's like a true overarching villain in the second season of Alien Force, but it has a lot of cool adventures, and Vilgax comes back. His design isn't quite as good as in the original series, but Vilgax comes back, and there's an accident when they're trying to tweak the Omnitrix so that he can defeat him, because Vilgax challenges him to single combat for ownership of the Earth. And so they're trying to make Ben more powerful, but it goes wrong, and then Kevin gets turned into a monster again. Well, not exactly a monster like before, but he's like made up of he's a patchwork of different materials. So he's got like crystal, rock, metal that's making up his body, and he can't turn back. And just the development of him, like through that, them trying to figure out how to get him back to normal, and how much looking like a monster hurts him and weighs on him, and seeing how like the toll that takes on him. I keep fangirling about Kevin's development, but it's like his is the most drastic and the most visible development in the show, and it's great. It's not Zuko level character development. It is not a Zuko level redemption arc. Nothing will top Zuko's redemption arc, but it's still so good. Oh, I love it. It's great. And then we also get Albedo, who is the same species as the creator of the Omnitrix, and he tries to make his own Omnitrix, but because of how he makes it, it's connected to the original Omnitrix, so then when he puts it on, he reverts to the default form of the original Omnitrix, which is Ben. So he's pissed off because he can't go back to his original alien form. And so he hunts down Ben and tries to kill him so he can turn back into his alien form. And he's just a fun, psychotic-ish character. But just, I love it. And all of the villains that they bring in, even like the side villains, they have assassins come in that like return. They have returning villains they like play a small part, but they still like they're recurring villains, and they're great. The side characters, even the side characters in this are so good because they are so individual and unique from each other, and they did so good with the characters, and just and every alien form that Ben turns into has its own voice, so it's not just his voice coming out of this alien's body. He changes completely, genetically. Every part of his DNA changes to become this alien, so then he also gets a new voice with that. So it's so good. It's all so great. I love it. And then there is another sequel series to this called Ultimate Alien, because he steals, Albedo steals a new prototype version of a new Omnitrix, which allows the wearer to not only turn into different aliens, but turn into like an ultimate form of those aliens. You know, like ultimate Pokemon. You know, they have a different form and it's more powerful. And it's just an ultimate version of that Pokemon. It's that, but for Ben's aliens. So Albedo steals that so he can defeat Ben. And then at the end of that, which is at the end of the second season of Alien Force, so at the end, in the finale, Ben then gets the Ultimatrix, which is the Ultimatrix from Albedo. So then in Ultimate Alien, he has the Ultimatrix. So then it's him, fighting bad aliens. But now he can turn into a more powerful version of his aliens. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. But anyway, so now we have the Ultimatrix. And I do like the villain in the first season of this, because he's the same species of alien as Kevin, an Osmosian. So can absorb the energy of material. So not only can an Osmosian coat themselves in whatever material they touch, if they touch a living species, they can gain the power of that. They don't like turn into the alien like Ben does, but they get their power. So the villain is trying to basically become the most powerful thing in existence. So he's hunting down 5 different aliens so that he can completely absorb them and fully gain their power. Because when he just touches them and absorbs them, he only gains a fraction of their power. So he's trying to gain entirely, in full force, all of their powers. And so the entire season, Ben, Gwen, and Kevin are finding these aliens, hearing this Osmosian's name, Agrigor. Yes, hearing this name, Agrigor. And again, it's like the lead up to this villain. And then they're trying to save these aliens, but Agrigor keeps tracking them down and finding them just when you think that they're going to escape. So Ben and the others think they're saving these aliens, but in reality, Agrigor's catching up to them after they escaped and recapturing them. And it's great because it's new aliens, which is awesome. So every time that Ben encounters these new aliens that aren't in his Ultimatrix, it scans them so that he can turn into them too. So he just keeps adding more aliens to it as this goes along too. I'm not the biggest fan of all the ultimate forms of his different aliens. We don't see one for every single alien that he has, but we do for a good 5 to 7 of them. The only one that I really, really like is Ultimate Echo. Which maybe I'll just... Nah. But, yes, Echo in its normal form is like a cybernetic alien that can multiply and releases sound waves like a canary cry, like Black Canary. And so, which is just a cool alien in general. But Ultimate Echo is cool. He doesn't multiply, but he has like discs that come off of him that can project sound waves. Oh, he's so cool. I love Ultimate Echo's design. And his is the one that makes the most sense and works best. The rest, like Ultimate Humongosaur, who's just a giant dinosaur that can grow. Anyway, the ultimate version of him kind of looks like Bowser from Mario Brothers. And his hands turn into guns? His makes the least sense. I don't understand where they got that for Ultimate Humongosaur. And the other ones, the designs just aren't the best. But Ultimate Echo Echo is beautiful, is perfect. I love Ultimate Echo Echo. Anyway, Agrigor is a great villain. He doesn't have, besides just being power hungry, that's like his only motivation. So he's not the most complex villain, but he is still a cool villain. And so him on the hunt to absorb all these creatures, all these aliens, and then when he does, trying to find the map of infinity, which leads him to basically the realm of the Celestials, which is another race of aliens, where he plans to absorb a baby Celestial and then become the most powerful being in the universe. So then we also have them fighting to get a piece of the map of eternity, map of infinity before he does, so that he can't complete the map and can't get to infinity or eternity. I can't remember which one it is. Anyway, they're trying to stop him from getting to the Celestials and absorbing the baby so that he becomes powerful. And it's cool because each of the pieces is in some sort of stronghold. So we get to see each of these 4 strongholds, and they're all, and we get to see more of the species of alien that is one of my favorites in Alien Force. It's Big Chill. He's so cool. I don't know how to describe him. He has ice breath. And he flies. So his wings, when he's not using them, wrap around him like a cloak. And it's so cool. I love Big Chill's design. And we have an entire episode where they are interacting with that species and going into one of their temples to try and get a piece of the map so that Agrigor doesn't. And I love the species so much. It's so cool. I love all the aliens. Oh man. But yes, and I love it. And then when they're stopping Agrigor from absorbing the baby Celestial, in order to do that, Kevin has to absorb energy from the Ultimatrix. And we get more lore for their species because we find out that when Osmosians absorb like pure energy like that from the living creatures and from the Ultimatrix and such, they start to go crazy, which is why part of the reason he was Ben's nemesis in the original series, because he absorbed direct energy directly from the Omnitrix, which drove him a little crazy. And so Agrigor is going crazy because he's absorbing power from these other aliens, which then is the kind of like raw energy or whatever. So it's driving him crazy and power hungry. And so Kevin absorbs the energy from the Ultimatrix, knowing the danger that it could drive him insane. And then he proceeds to absorb all of the powers out of Agrigor. So not only does he get powers from the Ultimatrix, he gets all of the powers from Agrigor. And so he just goes nutso and power hungry and starts going out for revenge on everyone who has ever wronged him. Oh, it's so cool because he gets a super monstrous form because he basically absorbed the DNA of a bunch of different aliens, so it becomes this monstrosity, just a combination of all these different aliens. And it's great. It's just so great. And so then the final episodes of season 1 are them trying to stop him, and just Ben and Gwen grappling with, do we stop him or do we try and reason with him? And we have Gwen going towards we have to reason with him. We have to help him because he's not himself. And Ben getting to the point where it's like, no, he's caused too much damage. He's hurt too many people. We have to put him down. and legitimately considering just killing his friend. And again, it's this amazing this amazing dynamic and this thing that you don't expect to have in a children's show. It's like they would never put something like this in a children's show nowadays. Like two people literally fighting, two cousins fighting each other, literally fighting each other over the life of their best friend who's gone insane. It's so great. And they end up getting to the point where they have to join forces with old enemies and old friends to make the machine that allows them to sap all of this energy out of Kevin so that he goes back to normal, and then redispersing it to everyone that it came from. It's just Kevin is probably my favorite character in this show. And just... But it's so great. I love it. And then the second season's more forgettable. Like I'm legit blanking on who the big bad is in season 2 of Ultimate Alien. Anyway, another cool concept that they bring in Ultimate Alien is at the very beginning, Ben's identity gets revealed. And so then he's also trying to deal with now being like this famous hero with no secret identity. Everyone knows who he is. And at first being like, no, can't do it. It makes my life suck. And then it also later eventually going to his head, and then he's acting like this total douchebag, and he makes me want to punch him through the screen because he gets to the point where it's like he's being such an arrogant little douchebag that I want to hurt him. We get a little of that too after they save the world from the hybrid. Because like, oh, I saved the universe from the hybrid. And he keeps bringing it up. And I want to punch him. But then when he gets famous and it goes to his head, it gets worse. And I want to strangle him through the screen. But yeah, he's fine. Oh, wait, that's who it is. I just remembered who it is. I remembered the big bad for season 2. It's like a space demon called Dagon. And it makes the Forever Knights, who are kind of like these dinky little villains that keep showing up throughout the series, it makes them they're actually formidable enemies. And at the same time, they're not enemies because they're fighting the Dagon and trying to keep him from taking over the world. But my favorite part of that entire season was the esoterica, which are like this cult following of the Dagon, and they can jump dimensions at will. So they'll be fighting them and they'll just disappear, or they'll be climbing steps that are in a different dimension. So it looks like they're climbing nothing and they're just walking through the air, but they're actually walking up a staircase in a different dimension. I love the esoterica. They're so cool. They're so cool. Like, just the design and their ability is awesome. They're so great. But yes, they're definitely my favorite part of that entire season, because they're just awesome. And then we have, I can't remember what the creature is that it sends out at first. Anyway, it, takes over people's minds, and it gets a hold on Gwen. So part of the season we're dealing with, and especially as Dagon gets closer and closer to freeing himself, she like gets more he starts controlling her mind, and so she's fighting his mind control and being forced to like fight her friends. It's just, mind control is always so much fun. But again, Vilgax comes back. This is probably my least favorite encounter with him. Just, yeah, it's not my favorite time he shows up. Because, I mean, it's smart on his part. But yeah, of all the battles with him, it's probably my least favorite. Anyway, he feigns loyalty to the Dagon so that he can free the Dagon and then use a machine that he used when conquering other worlds to absorb all the Dagon's power and then therefore become the Dagon. Which design for the Dagon is really stupid because it's just a giant floating octopus. Which works in Vilgax's favor because he's an octopus alien. He basically has an octopus for a head. Anyway, so yeah, when he becomes a Dagon, he basically just becomes a giant version of his head. Which is a little weird and dumb. But anyway, yes. And then they defeat him because Ben gets a magic sword and steals all of the Dagon's powers away from Vilgax again. And then you have him having to figure out, like, because then Vilgax tempts him to use the power of the Dagon that he has, because now he's basically all powerful, to just wipe out all evil in the universe. And then Gwen and Kevin trying to talk him out of it, and just him having to contemplate, do I try and use this power for good, or do I just, like, put the sword down, give it with all of the power inside of it, and give it all up? And obviously, he makes the right choice. But again, just this huge issue that he has to, think through, and things that they would never put in children's show nowadays. It's great. It's wonderful. And of course we end it with him getting another new Omnitrix, because every time we start a new series for this, or / end, he gets a new Omnitrix. It was probably a good place to end it, because it's kind of like it's not like an ending, but it's an ending. So like all of the things that we've basically led up to in this season, this series, all of the different series has been resolved. But he gets a new Omnitrix, and it's like there's still more to do. He's still going off on whatever the next adventure is. And I love those endings. You don't need to have like, and then all the way up to the end of the hero's life, or every problem is solved and he no longer has to be a hero. It's like, those aren't the fun endings. The fun endings are the ones, that hit you hard, are the ones where you end it, but there's more to come. And just us as the viewer or the reader or whatever it is, we just don't get to go along with them for the next part of their adventure. Which is why endings are sad. Yeah. Anyway. That's my rant about Ben 10. It's, again, childhood show that I absolutely loved. I was rewatching this. I had very, very vivid memories of most of the alien designs and some of like the episodes or the plot points or whatever. But it had been so long that I forgot most of the stuff that happened in it. So it was almost like I was watching it for the first time again, which made it all that much more enjoyable. But yeah, the show is great. Just in the lore that we get, in the character work, it's great. Kevin's development is on point. Just the world that they create for us, because it's our world, but it's just so much bigger, and I love it. Okay, I usually pick like top 3, I think, characters when I do this. It was 3 or 5, but there's not enough characters for me to do 5 in this. Okay, number 1, favorite character of the entire series is Kevin. That'd have to be their grandpa. I love their grandpa. He's great. Oh gosh. It's like, I almost don't want Gwen and Ben to be on that, because I'm also trying to think through all the side characters that keep coming in. I do Velgax, but he kind of loses a lot of the stuff that I like. He doesn't get as intimidating, or he's not as good of a character when he comes back in Alien Force, which is really sad because he's a great villain in the original series. Ben and Gwen are kind of on the same level, because Ben, as a human form, has his moments where I'm like, oh, he's great. He's a great human being. And then there's other times where I want to punch him in the face. And then some of just the person, because he gets almost individual personalities a little bit with his different aliens too. So that just some of his aliens have great personalities too. So, and then Gwen just is I prefer her as a human being, just as compared to Ben, and just awesome ability. I love the lore we get behind her species and all the fun stuff. But again, they're not as good, I guess, as Grandpa, Max, and Kevin. So 4, I guess, technically, but Ben and Gwen are tied for 3rd. Anyway, so yes, again, my thoughts on this crazy, awesome children's show. I will promise you again, for the 2nd time now, childhood favorites for Phineas and Ferb. Eventually, I'll get there. I'm sorry. I keep watching new things, so I have to do reviews for them while it's fresh in my head, and you actually care about my opinions on it. So yeah, then it gets pushed to the back burner, and that's why the only reason this one got made is because I recently rewatched Ben 10, so anyway, highly recommend the show if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it and kind of forgot about it, go rewatch it. It's such a fun time. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Ben 10. Until next time.